Got another one for you. Surprise guest at an NYC, I think, concert. Nancy Pelosi shows up and she is shown absolutely no mercy. Let's get into it. This is fair use via Fox News.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi receiving an interesting greeting in New York City as she makes a surprise appearance at a music festival.
Hey, Pelosi.
They letting her have it over there in New York City.
As you can see there was some boos. An interesting welcome.
There wasn't some. They were really. I wish I was there in person to hear that, man. I bet that was pretty epic.
In liberal New York City, Pelosi is really gearing up for the midterms. She's one of the first guests on the new show on Hulu, Power Trip. She showed off her fitness with a brisk walk with George Stephanopoulos, talking about how Republicans are going to destroy democracy if the power goes to the GOP in November.
Midterm, our democracy, as you see, because they are nullifying elections, and that's part of their agenda. The fate of the planet, which they are in denial. They're still anti-science and anti-governance to do anything about it.
She should speak for herself. Like, that's a reflection on the Democrats, if you ask me. That's only if you really, and people would know this if they really paid attention.
A pinnacle of fitness there. In the meantime, Republican leaders making the rounds on Sunday shows, touting their new plan for change. Here's Congresswoman and GOP conference Lisa Stefanik earlier today on Fox News Sunday.
Not only are we earn back the House, but we're going to earn back, and we will send every bit we promised to the president. And it's up to Joe Biden whether he works with us or whether he will play politics and veto these important bills to rein in inflation, to support law enforcement, to make sure we have a safe country, and to secure the border, which is in free fall under Biden's amnesty policies.
And many registered Democrats are fed up with what they call the radical left and switching parties. One switched to Republican, telling the New York Post, quote, "The reason I registered as a Republican has more to do with the Democrats than it does with the Republicans. I still consider myself liberal in a lot of ways, but I'm no longer registered Democrat. They've just really gone off the rails this past several years." I would agree with that person, Guy. You know, there's a poll here that just shows where the GOP is on the issues. And they're really leading. I think we've got the poll we can show here. It just shows plus 5 on the generic ballot among likely voters, +1 in swing districts. But that, if you go back to that quote, what they're saying is it's not about the.
Oh man, the GOP is killing it right now because of the fact that the left is like just going off the deep end with their policies. They don't even realize this is hurting people more than it is helping.
Republicans' position, maybe not this contract, this promise to America. I can't remember what it's called. Commitment to America. Maybe all of that doesn't really matter. Maybe they really just need to continue to point out that those are kind of radical.
Just like look around. How's your family doing? And Speaker Pelosi can huff and puff on her walk with George Stephanopoulos and talk about how democracy could die and the fate of the planet is at stake in a midterm election, right? Just like this very over-the-top, I think.
Yeah, people, Nancy Pelosi, don't even realize that this is not the main thing most Americans are concerned about right now. They're concerned about the economy and how much power, how much buying power they have right now, because most people don't have much buying power because of, things are still relatively high. Even though gas has gone down, like, quite a bit, it's still much higher than it was a year and a half ago.
Rhetoric from her, and most voters look at that and say, it's a bit much. And we put the graphic up for the Republicans. This is a brand new Washington Post ABC News poll out today. For Republicans to be up 5 on the generic ballot among likely voters is a big deal. In the swing districts, up 21 points. And on the number one issue, the economy, Republicans are up 16 points, up 14 on crime. These are the bread and butter law and order issues that people care about.
And this is what the most Democrats across the country have been ignoring, because especially crime and inflation in the overall economy, because in places like Chicago, where I just heard earlier today that this past weekend was pretty bad. It had a couple of murders, and the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, hasn't said anything about it, which doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, they're already losing the Chicago Bears, and it's going to get worse out there.
And I think a lot of the noise that you're hearing from the Democrats is sort of their admission tacitly that they know they're in some trouble. So they're throwing these flares out there, distractions to try to get people scared, try to motivate their folks. But I think ultimately it comes down to inflation, the economy, the Republicans. I mean, you can see the numbers on the screen. Those are striking.
Alicia, to Guy's point, the Democrats' messaging right now is not, look how good we are with our issues. It is that MAGA is extremism. That's the first point they have. The next point they have is that basically what they're trying to say is that climate change is the root to all evil. And that's, I guess, the most policy-based point they have.
Climate change how's climate change the root to all evil? That doesn't even make sense. It's like, yeah, things are changing. Like it's a lot hotter than usual and everything like that. But people are more concerned about their money and where it's going and not spending tax dollars on unnecessary, bills and things like that.
They're trying to tell you that, hey, what you think is happening isn't actually happening. Inflation isn't up that much, or what's happening at the border. They only are going to address the border if they address what Governor Abbott and DeSantis have done by moving migrants from Texas and Florida. It seems like they really don't have that issue platform to sell in the midterms.
No, and it really is. They're really in a spot. And when you showed that quote from that voter who switched over, who said they still consider themselves quite liberal, however, they felt like they were now more of a Republican. I can tell you from talking to voters out there in the middle of the country, in the southern part of the country, definitely. When I say South, I don't mean like your South, Texas and Southern Arizona. There are so many voters out there who feel like the Democratic Party has gone to the left to such an extreme, and these are lifelong Democrats who now say they are changing. And it's voters. They are constantly telling us over and over again that things have changed so much, but they haven't. The party has changed. And so I think the responsibility for Republicans right now, from a strategic standpoint, is to keep the focus and the collective discipline on the economy and on crime. And if they can do that, then they have a path.
Oh man, I can imagine that this. I can't imagine that this is what the Democrats have now come to. They have completely derailed themselves from issues that most people are really concerned with. They're more concerned with pushing their far extreme left agenda. And if you know, you know. I want to be careful what I say here. This is YouTube. The far left agenda of the things they've been pushing lately, especially on young children. It's a disgrace how they're pushing this on the young Americans who are still naive in their way of thinking. And even longtime Democrats, as a lady on the video just stated, that even they're waking up to what's going on. They're waking up to how the Democrats have just completely shifted, how they completely just gotten rid of their voter base and gone to this far left extreme la la land type policies that, longtime Democrats who were probably about the working class, they're looking at this like, wait a minute, I can't rock with this. This is not what I want. This is not what I supported the Democrat Party for years on end about. It's just too much. And by the standards of today, long-term Democrats are now switching over to the Republican Party because, at least on the other side, at least on the Republican side, they're cracking down on crime, they're cracking down on the inflation, and they want to get the economy stable again because most people want to keep their money. They don't want most of their money to not go as far as it used to, because that's all inflation has done. It's like shortening the strength of the dollar bill. You can only get I remember when you could get more groceries for around $20 to $40. Now $20 to $40, it'll barely get you 4 items at the grocery store, and it's ridiculous. So now most people are tired of that, and it seems like the Democratic, the left, the liberals, they don't really care about that anymore. They don't care about how much money the average American has to spend on everyday items anymore, as long as they get the support that they need on their own, far left policies. But anyways, that's all I got to say about this. What do you guys think about this down below? One more thing before I get out of here. It's the fact that Nancy Pelosi is getting booed at that New York City concert shows, and then most people over in that area, they're very left leaning, and they're even tired of Nancy Pelosi. Even though she's from California, and they're not showing her any mercy because they understand what's going on with her, and they're not down with it either. What it seems to me, for her to get booed into oblivion at that show is very telling. Okay, that's all I got to say. What do you guys think about this down below in the comment section? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with what was said in the video? Let's talk about it. I'll holler at y'all in the next video.